Welcome to the first maiden voyage of Common Room Unboxed. Uh, Here today is I'm with Florin Tatalia, uh, far more famous than I am. My name is Matson Shirley. I head up growth and demand here at Common Room. A bit of context before we get going today. Uh, as we've been building and you know using Common Room to grow ourselves, and as we've watched and observed our customers use and grow with Common Room, we've learned a few things about signal-based selling and going to market intelligently. What works and what doesn't work. Uh, we have we're super excited to come to you today with some insights we've gained along the way, and we've decided that it's important for us to share and make this uncommon knowledge we've picked up common for as many go-to-market teams as possible. So that brings us to this moment today, sharing this with all of you, unboxing Common Room for all of us. With that, I want to turn the time over to Florin for our deep dive demo.
Awesome. Thanks, Matson. Yeah, super excited to be here. Our first LinkedIn live event. I'm just going to take over the screen here, and we got a pretty action-packed episode here for you. One of the main reasons I actually joined Common Room was because I get a chance every day to actually use the platform and dog food it to actually build pipeline. So being here for 3 months, as Matson said, like we obviously learned a lot about different plays. We collected a bunch of different data as well, and we want to be able to share those plays with other people. Obviously, Common Room helps make these a lot easier, but there are also plays that I think from a tactical perspective can be run even if you're a smaller company that doesn't have any budget. So these sessions are going to be super tactical. If you know me, that's what I like to focus on, and super excited to continue with these different series and show you and unbox different plays as we continue to build pipeline over time. Alrighty, so I'm just going to share my screen now and make sure that we are good. Perfect. So the topic for today is going to be turning competitor and thought leader LinkedIn posts into pipeline. Now, there's a few problems that we're going to cover in today's demo. So if this sounds like you, this is probably going to be a play that is going to work quite well. So first one is your company is in a hot category and you're a pretty small player. So if you're a small player, you don't have a ton of marketing budget as some of the behemoths in the space, or you just don't have the engagement that they have. I think this is a play that can really help you ride on the coattails of other companies. You're also in a hyper competitive category here, so you want to be able to actually get in front of prospects before your competitors do. Number three, to automate tasks. So running these socially engaged plays is not something that's new. Like a lot of us have been running these before, but usually you're doing it manually and or you're using some kind of like a scraper, like a phantom buster, for example, and it's time consuming and actually difficult to filter by your core ICP. And number four, I think pipeline coverage is obviously a huge topic in this day and age. Everybody's looking to build more pipeline. So if you're just here to build pipeline through LinkedIn, that's also going to be another thing that is going to be super helpful. So in terms of the agenda for today, it's going to be pretty action-packed here. Two plays that we're running to get 20% plus reply rates. The first one is called Socially Engaged Ecosystem. So this is actually pulling engagement from thought leaders in your space and running specific plays either in an automated way or more tactical and hyper focused. Number two, socially engaged competitive. So this is going to be leveraging your competitors' LinkedIn posts, engagement, whatever that might be. We're going to go into a demo of how I'm actually doing this with the team. Then some takeaways and best practices, again, that we've learned over time. We made some mistakes so that you don't have to. And finally, if you know me, I'm a big email copy and messaging guy. So obviously I'm going to provide some templates for all of you and some actual messaging that we use. Now, again, if you know me, I'm a big proof is in the pudding guy. I don't just come here and like show you plays that don't work. So these are some screenshots of some actual sequences that we have. We have a ton of different socially engaged plays, so I just pulled two that were statistically significant. So we reached out to more than 100 people. You can see here from an open rate perspective, we have about a 2x lift compared to standard pure outbound. From a reply rate perspective, you could even argue 4 times the standard reply rates. And then the most important thing, obviously, from a booking meetings perspective, compared to pure outbound, we're getting about a 3x lift. So about a 7 to 10% booking rate from replies, which is pretty awesome, at least to the standards that I've seen. And I've worked for a number of different companies now. I consult for a lot of companies, and it's just very difficult to do this with pure cold outbound. Now, 2 things that are very important to know before we actually run socially engaged plays. The first one, obviously, these plays only work if your prospects are on LinkedIn. So they're active there. Your ICP is engaging with content. This play is not for everybody. Common Room in general, we have like 50 plus different signals, and we have a lot of customers that don't have prospects that are active on LinkedIn. But this is not going to be the play for you. The second one, messaging and software aside, speed to lead is absolutely key here. One thing that we found for this play to be successful is that if someone's engaging on posts that are useful to you, you have to hit them up ASAP, ideally within 24 hours, if you can within 1 or 2 hours. Pretty standard stuff. Now, Common Room, the great thing about the platform is you can do a 14-day free trial directly on our website. You can sign up with like a Gmail account, for example. Once you go into settings, there's going to be a ton of signals you can set up. If you want to run this play, it's going to be through our Chrome extension for LinkedIn. So you would literally just click get access and you are good to go. Now let's actually go into a demo so I can tactically show you how this actually works. So I'm going to go on LinkedIn. A few best practices. The first play that we're going to run is going to be the socially engaged ecosystem thought leader play. Now, for this example, I'm going to pretend that I'm selling some form of like a digital sales room. Shout out to my buddy Saad from Aligned. I just decided to use you as an example here. I also have examples from Common Room ourselves, but I wanted to change it up so that you're not just seeing it from one company's perspective. So if I'm a digital sales room, like Aligned, I need to figure out posts that are related to topics that I know we can solve for, right? Now, a digital sales room, for example, can help with mutual success plans. So one thing that I usually recommend when you're searching for posts is to type in a specific keywords in brackets. And then if you're going to run the thought leader or creator play, I would put an and operator here and then type in the name of the creator that usually has content related to what you can solve for, right? So let's run this. What I'm going to do now is filter for posts. And then I told you all before, speed to lead is going to be super important. So typically within the last 24 hours is great, but you also might just want to see like what, for more options, like what's happened in the last month overall. And this is kind of the key part to make sure that the messaging is very relevant. So what you want to do is actually find posts that you think are going to be easy to spin up into or tie the context of your solution. So one post that we found here from Brian, for example, he's talking a lot about pilots, executive alignment, success criteria, mutual action plans, which is the keywords that we searched for. And I can see here that this actually has a pretty good amount of engagement. 740 likes, 143 comments, some reshares. So if I'm confident that I could use this to run a socially engaged play, what I'm going to do is pull up the Chrome extension that we've developed here. And then we can put this into a very specific play or what we call segments at Common Room. So in this case, I'm going to put this into what's called our ecosystem play. So again, this is for thought leaders. And then I'm going to refresh that post or add the post into Common Room. Now, nothing revolutionary here yet, but this is where Common Room really helps you run this play at scale. Now, before we go into Common Room, I'm going to go through a second play here, which is going to be the competitive one, right? So in this scenario, let's say I'm Common Room, and I'm going to, let's say I decide that a company like 6 Cents, I'm not here to pick on any type of competitors, but they're a little bit adjacent to us. We believe like maybe we can consolidate or kind of like replace at least part of the use cases that they have and do a lot more. And we have a good message that we can come up with for a competitive play. One thing that we do quite well is we'll actually find employees at a competitor that have a lot of engagement on LinkedIn, and then do something similar where I search across a post. So at 6 Cents, I have, there's somebody called Kat. I don't know if Kat's on this demo or not. That would be pretty funny. And again, I'm big fans of 6 Cents, but just showing you all an example here. Again, I'm going to use an AND operator. I'm going to run a filter for posts. I'm going to do posts in the last month. And I'm going to scroll through to see, are there any solid posts that we can actually leverage in our messaging and really tie in some nice context? So I did come across a post here from Kat where she talks about like consolidation of tech, actually talks about third-party intent data enrichment. And I think that this is something that we can spin up and actually extract the engagement from a competitor and use it ourselves. So I'm going to do something very similar here. Add the post. This time I'm going to put it into other specific segment or play that we call competitive. So the messaging is going to be very different, and I'm actually going to show you what that messaging looks like. Add it into Common Room. Now, this is where the fun part begins. This is where the magic happens, as you will say. So going back to Brian's post, let's pretend I'm at Aligned, right? I'm running a thought leader play. What you're going to notice is that we extracted everybody we could from that post into Common Room. And I want to direct your attention to a few things. One, we have waterfall enrichment directly in Common Room. So if I go to someone like Calvin in this case, I will see their personal emails, company emails, their phone numbers, their LinkedIn profile. Because we also unify a ton of different signals like web visits and social engagement, we could also see that this person has actually visited our website. And I'm going to get into like what stacking signals is all about as well. But so that's one. We automatically enrich those contacts. Two, you can actually build lead scoring into the platform. So I can see here for someone like Calvin, because we're unifying all those signals, this is an excellent lead score. We have their organization, their email. We know that they're the head of GTM. They have some activity across different signals that we're tracking. They've been to our demo page. They've been on our website. They've submitted a HubSpot form. Now, these lead scores are fully customizable to how you want to set it up. But I know who to prioritize based off of that lead score. And now we can go even deeper with various filters here to actually segment to people that are in our ICP. So one of the first things that I'm going to do, because we have 438 people, they're probably not all good fits, I'm going to search for economic buyers. So that's a built-in tag that we have for people above the power line. So you can see here that filtered down to 96 people above the power line that interacted with Brian's post, right? The next thing I'm going to do is probably going to search tech stack. If I think I can replace 6 Cents, I want to see who from Brian's post uses 6 Cents. So it's actually only 5 people. So maybe for these 5 people, I'm going to run a very hyper-specific play that mentions 6 Cents. And the fact that they also interacted with that specific post about mutual success plans or whatever, right? The other thing you can do is stacking signals. We talk about this a lot, and I think this is really the main power of Common Room. So I want to see everyone that's interacted with Brian's post that has also been on our website. Now, that's a much more high-intent lead than just someone that interacted off Brian's post. If those people might not even know what Aligned is, for example, right? So I think you've seen here now with like these filters, just how deep you can go into actually segmenting this list to build very hyper specific messaging. And we can do the exact same thing for Kat's post as well. Now, a few things to go over back into the deck here. So a very important note as we come to messaging, because at the end of the day, that's what really matters and what the prospect sees. Too many people make this mistake. The fact that someone is reacting to a post is not your only reason for reaching out. You need to have a compelling reason and do more research across other signals. So here's an email framework, and I'm going to show you some examples that we use. So if any of you have taken my copywriting course, you know I really like this like 4-step email template. I also use a PS sometimes, and obviously you can mold this to different situations. But typically speaking, when we reach out to somebody in a socially engaged play, sentence number 1 is going to be the observation based off of a LinkedIn post. So calling out the exact post. The second thing we're going to do is do additional research, usually at the company level, to find a compelling reason as to why we're reaching out to not just the person, but the actual company or organization as well. And this is where we're going to tie the context from the post to the signal from the company, okay? Then we're going to go into the ideal state with social proof. So what can Common Room actually do for you and prove it? Light call to actions, you know, I love those. And then we always use the PS for any extra personalization that we can find if it's difficult to tie into the actual body of the email, okay? So let's go into a few examples here. It looks like I put an animation here by accident. Sorry about that. So this is as if I was aligned. Remember, this is the ecosystem play from Brian's post. So stumbled upon your comment on Brian Lamanda's post on LinkedIn today, where he mentioned the 4 factors that led to his 90% win rate on pilots. Love his content. So we're calling out the actual topic of the post because it's important in the next sentence. Then we are going to do extra research. So notice that they're hiring AEs from our job listing signal in the enterprise specifically. And this is tying the context to the sentence that's going to then be the ideal state, right? So it seems like you're moving up market and relying on mutual success plans and multiple stakeholders to win deals. Now, here's how deal is actually using us to uncover more stakeholders and decrease their sales cycle. And then we're going to finish off with a spin on a call to action here, where is this something? And then we're going to call out 1 or 2 AEs from their team that they could improve on, just to make that really real and show that it's not an automated message. And then Saad gave me this inspiration where he actually takes screenshots of customers mentioning that they love Aligned and putting that in the PS. So you can see here, we're not just calling out the fact that they engage with Brian, we're tying that into a good reason for reaching out based off of something that's happening in their business. This is what I call a relevant email. It's personalized. AI cannot do this today, so you have a much higher likelihood of getting a response with this. That's number 1. Number 2, this is the socially engaged ecosystem, again, thought leader, meta play. Now, there's a caveat here. Not everyone can run this play. This play only works if you can actually show them your solution in action as you're running the play itself. We use this because when we do a socially engaged play, we're actually selling the play and Common Room to our prospects. So here's the template. Again, this is more of like an educating type of sequence here and showing them like, hey, we're actually running this play on you. Is this something that you'd like to do with your team? So Barrett on my team ran this recently. We had a CRO that obviously gave him some praise and introduced him to somebody else on the team. So some social proof there. This play is really working for us quite well. Now, let's finish off with the competitive one. So again, this is Kat's post from 6 Cents. And again, we're going to call out that we saw the post. So your comment on Kat's post talking about the GTM tech stack consolidation at your org caught my eye, observation. Then we're going deeper. I actually did a bit of research on your company and noticed that you're hiring an enterprise SDR. Notice that you're also using I put 6cents, zoom info, and qualified here, which I believe we can potentially consolidate, at least for certain use cases as you go up market. Then almost shifting the conversation a bit from consolidation, that is one value prop. But the other thing is that it's nearly impossible with these tools to find the actual person behind the intent. And then a little bit of like a cheeky comment there. And this goes back into making sure that you truly understand the problem that you're solving and how you differentiate from your competitors, and then calling that out. We can actually find the exact person behind the intent. And then here I actually spun it up a little bit and we ran social proof in the call to action with Notion's SDRs. So a few key takeaways here that we've learned over time as well, and I hope that those tactical examples were actually helpful for you all. Here's some guidance after you pull posts. So first of all, for ecosystem or thought leader plays, you want to find creators and thought leaders that post regularly on topics your org can solve. Obviously, the more engagement, the better. Brian Lemon is a great one. Morgan J. Ingram, Jen Allen's another fantastic one. There's a ton of these different people, especially in sales, but you don't have to run this play just for sales teams. Like we have a lot of teams that have thought leaders in their space, and maybe they don't have like as much engagement necessarily, but we typically recommend, in jumping down a little bit, that you can pull in posts with 50 plus engagements and you'll do a pretty good job there. Now, from competitive plays, I think 3 ideas here that we've seen work well. One is going to be employees of competitors with good engagement. So that's the example that I used with Kat. 2, competitors with large social followings, especially if there's a behemoth in your space. Like you have like Salesforce, HubSpot, you have companies like GitLab in the dev world. They have millions of followers. Like there's people in those posts that are 100% in your ICP. And if you have a good enough message and it's quick enough, you're going to be able to get to them and book those meetings at a higher, or at least have a way higher chance than if you go pure cold outbound. The last one that's kind of interesting as well is product launches. So if your competitors have posts, or this is even like from a CEO, they launch a product, the people in those engagements tend to be usually more like the actual buyers as opposed to, or employees, but we can filter out for those. So those also work quite well. And just know from like a statistics standpoint, like about 5 to 15% of engagements are actually going to be in your ICP. So something to think about there. 2, process tips. Obviously, we don't want to just run a play one-off. Like tactical advice is great, but what I'm thinking about is how do you build systems at scale? How do you make this work over time? So a few things that we've learned. 1, you want to pull in posts on a regular basis that meet your criteria and make this a habit at your company. You can actually get this down to less than 5 minutes per day. There's a ton of different, like, again, keyword searches, using Boolean operators to actually find those posts. Or, for example, just build the habit that if you're scrolling through LinkedIn anyways and you see a post that could be super relevant, pop that into Common Room or run a play manually if you can as well. And then the last thing that's super, super important here is going to be aligned messaging. You can't have the same messaging for competitive plays versus thought leader plays. And then obviously what the actual content of the post is matters a lot in what the messaging is. You want to get as hyper specific as possible, and you can actually run and build out these different segments and plays in Common Room. And that's how we do it, where each single play has a different sequence.
Hey, Florin, do you want to maybe quickly, sorry to interject, this is great. Do you want to go back to Common Room and maybe just show how that integration between segments and sequences, or segments and cadences, works from Common Room itself?
Yeah, 100%. So here in the segments tab, you can see that we have a bunch of different segments built out. Website visits, we have the competitive social plays, the ecosystem plays here that I just demoed. So one thing that's super interesting at the action layer, what you can do, let's say you select, everybody that engaged with Brian, and I'll just use the 6cents example. I'm really picking on 6cents today. I'm sorry, guys, but it's all love. So here, let's say I have 51 people that use 6cents and engage with Brian's post. what I can do here is select all of these people and actually push them directly into a sequence. And then here I can select the actual sequence, and we can even create AI message snippets for every single person. And we're actually going to host another session talking about prompts and how to build good messaging here. You could also fully automate this where we can build workflows that if somebody meets a certain criteria in a segment or play, instead of the SDR or the rep pushing them into a sequence, we can do that automatically. There's obviously a lot to Common Room, but yeah, thanks, Matson. I think it was important to be able to call out how do you actually action the leads that you have here and make sure that you're reaching out to them. A bonus key takeaway, and I've touched on this, but stacking signals. So you want to be able to build plays with prospects that have social engagement on posts, but also, started a free trial if you have a PLG motion, visited high intent pages on your website. So pages like your pricing page, the demo page, terms and service, case studies, for example, or your success stories. Signals around like recently changing jobs. So someone that interacted with Kat and also recently changed jobs is probably a little bit higher up in the totem pole of prioritization, and we have a specific play that runs for that. Hiring roles, we already talked about that a little bit. I twisted that into the messaging. And then obviously having a specific tech stack that you could either replace or is complementary, I think are really good ways to stack socially engaged signals. So that's the socially engaged play. Super excited that we're able to do this first session. I hope that was super helpful and tactical. Obviously, we would love feedback. And Matson, I'm going to pass it over to you here.